Hi everybody. In this video, we're going to talk about gender socialization, which is an important part of the socialization process. Gender socialization is the teaching of the appropriate or correct way that a person can be a boy or a male, or a girl or a female. This is something that is learned, and we're going to dive much deeper into the difference between gender and sex when we get to the chapter on gender and sexuality. But as far as socialization goes, it's only important to know right now that gender and sex are not the same thing. Sex is a biological designation, and gender is a set of behaviors. So a set of behaviors that are learned by your experiences. And this is why it fits in with our socialization chapter. So there's an appropriate set of behaviors that me as a man am expected to perform. There are certain ways that I'm expected to carry myself. There are certain postures that are deemed as okay. There are certain ways I'm expected to walk. I'm expected to talk, and so on and so forth. And these things can change over time. But broadly, there is a clear division between the appropriate or correct kinds of behavior that a man or boy should exhibit and the correct or appropriate kinds of behavior that a girl or woman should exhibit. Now, the process of gender socialization begins before we are born. So while you are still in your mother's womb, you are being gender socialized. And the way that happens is that now that women are able to find out the sex of their baby before the baby is born through ultrasound, they can visit the doctor and have a scan done, and the doctor will indicate to them which genitalia their baby has. And if the baby has a penis, then the mother and parents associate gender male with that baby. And if the baby has a vagina, then the mother and father, the parents, will designate the gender of female to that baby. Now remember, gender is a set of behaviors. It's a pattern of behavior that gets attached to a sex. These two things are not inextricably linked. It is entirely possible for a person to be sexed male but have female gender characteristics, or vice versa. So when mothers find out the sex of their baby, and then they find out that the baby is male and has a penis, they start behaving one way. And when they find out, different mothers find out that the baby is sexed female, has a vagina, starts behaving a different way. All up until this point, pregnant women generally behave in very similar ways. It's only when they find out the sex of their baby do they start behaving differently, and they go two divergent paths. For instance, women who are expecting baby girls start eating healthier and start participating in less activity and less rigorous activity. Women who are expecting baby boys do not start eating healthier. In fact, they sometimes start eating even less healthy and engage in more physical activity and sometimes more rigorous physical activity. This connects to the concept and idea that men are hardy, men are strong, men are robust. And if men are hardy and men are strong and men are robust, well, then that means that boys are that way too. So then it's okay if I have this second triple cheeseburger with bacon. And girls are not hardy. They are not robust. They are not strong. In fact, many times and many people perceive them to be fragile and delicate. So mothers expecting a baby girl will pass on that triple bacon cheeseburger and opt for a salad instead. Okay? So this is how that process happens before you're born. This doesn't take into account these other things that occur because often parents with who are expecting a baby boy will buy a different set of toys than they would if they're expecting a baby girl. They will paint their room a different color than if they're expecting a baby girl. They'll buy different clothes than if they're expecting a baby girl, right? So this process happens before you're born. There's even studies that after you're born, that the same baby dressed in boys' clothes, it's treated radically different than if that same baby were dressed in girls' clothes. The adults treat the baby very differently. The kind of adjectives that get used. Look at how strong he is. Look at how this is going to grow up and be a sports player. Oh, look at how delicate she looks. She's going to grow up and be a dancer, and so on and so forth. So this gender socialization. Once the baby is born, these kinds of adjectives and this kind of language gets used to talk about the child, and these things get internalized, right? When you hear that constantly, day after day after day, year after year after year, you start to internalize those things. Well, I guess I am strong and I am hardy, or I guess I am fragile and I am delicate. Okay? This message gets repeated through mass media. It gets repeated through our school system, so that these differences that we perceive between men and women feel like they're natural, but the vast majority of it is not natural. There are some small differences between men and women, but the vast majority of the difference that we perceive is simply different socialization processes on different groups. When you look at gender in the media, and in this case, we can look at the media for young children, which relies also heavily on books. But this also holds true for television shows and movies. If there is a character in the book who is going to solve whatever problem there is, who is going to defeat the bad guy, who is going to go on an adventure and find the missing whatever, that character is almost always male. The characters that have agency, the ability to manipulate the circumstances around them, the ability to determine their own destinies, these characters are almost always male characters. It is irregular when this character is a female character. So this is one of the reasons why the television show Dora was so popular when it came out, because this is one of the first instances where we had a female character doing adventurous, dangerous kind of things. Dangerous for, a 4-year-old. But this socialization process with gender, it teaches us the way that we are supposed to be a boy, the way that we are supposed to be a girl. And if we ever deviate from these things, then we often face punishment from the people around us. For instance, if there is a boy in school who wants to be on the dance team, it is highly likely that his friends and other people in the school will make fun of him, will sanction him some way, will try to embarrass him in front of other people because of his decision to want to be on the dance team, because the dance team is perceived to be something that's a girl thing to do. So he gets pushed back into line. This is the line that you should walk if you are a boy or a man. If you stay on this line, everything is okay. If you go off of this line, then you can expect the people around you to try to push you back onto that line. Now, some people are able to say, I don't care what you think about this. This is what I enjoy doing. I'm going on the dance team. Most people, however, will acquiesce to that pressure and will not do those kinds of things that others might perceive to be the wrong thing to do according to what their gender is. So again, we're going to dive much deeper into gender and when we get to the chapter on gender and gender stratification. But it does play an important role in socialization. To make sure that we go over and that you guys understand that. Okay. If you have any questions or comments, I'd appreciate if you left them in the feedback below, and I'll see you in the next video.